Well, welcome to the Kingsborough Podcast. My name is Matt. This is my wife, Amber.
I'm Jonathan. This is my wife, Katie.
Yeah, we just wanted to do a couple things. One is document our progress on our project, which we're about to share with you in a moment, and then also to make ourselves known, make others aware of what we're trying to do. And it would be cool if we could get more people to join in and help us to build our community, which we hope will be pointing people to Christ and encouraging families in Colorado Springs. So for starters, our church is Emmaus Road Reformed Baptist Church, and we meet in Colorado Springs, Colorado, kind of near the middle of town. And our church members are spread around town, maybe a little bit more towards the north end of town, which is towards Black Forest. And so that's where we live and where we're going to start our hub of activity.
This is just simply the outflow of things that we've been talking about for at least a couple of years. Probably what? How long have we known you guys? We've probably been talking about these things since we've met you. Yeah. So we'll call 3 as a few officially. So we're approaching that mark of a few years of knowing you guys. So ever since then, we have been talking about something beyond the walls of the church, something even beyond just the Sunday morning type of social club model where we meet together as a church, we sing songs, we hear a great sermon, hopefully, and then we go our ways and we don't do much in terms of community or building up the body during the week. And then the mindset can be, well, we just repeat that over and over again, and we want to break that cycle, not just because we want to do something cool, but we believe that the Bible establishes a pattern of building community throughout the week, that this is our community that God has placed us in. We're to be a part of each other's lives throughout the week.
So from our perspective, from Amber and my perspective, thankfully we found Emmaus Road. And one of the coolest things about being there at church is a group of like-minded individuals, people who want to have a thick community, who want to have their circles of work and school and family and church, friends, all of that kind of overlap at least a little bit more, if not a lot more. And so it's kind of cool that we have people that like to hang out with us and want to build things with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that I think one important word that we have to bring into play here, and it's a word with many definitions, that is discipleship. What is, even defining it? We've heard discipleship defined as teaching, passing along information, group Bible studies. We've heard the common term today, doing life together, which again is sort of an apt description, but it needs certain qualifications. It needs certain nuance, because when you say, well, we're doing life together, well, what kind of life are we doing together? What does that look like in reference to living a Christian life or applying the Christian worldview to all of life? And I think that this is where this vision comes in, is that we are taking discipleship beyond some of these conventional applications and turning it into something that really applies to all of life. So for instance, one person may define discipleship as, say, a group of men, right? Men's discipleship group, where that is seen as a group of men getting together and we basically go through a book, or we go through a book of the Bible and we learn, and there's an outline, there's teaching, there's discussion, and that's all good and well. But I think where true discipleship really comes in is you're teaching men how to live day to day, right? We don't want discipleship, whether men or women, to be confined to an increase of their knowledge of Scripture or theology. We believe that discipleship is something that points to all of life, right? What we call the application of a thoroughly Christian worldview, all of Christ for all of life. And I think this is a way to make that real. So discipleship, rather than just being seen as Bible studies or an increase of theological knowledge, we would say, no, discipleship is meant to be taken to education, vocation, the arts, even politics. But the difference is that we are applying a Christian worldview. We are seeking to glorify Christ in every sphere of life. And so that would be discipleship. I wouldn't even say reimagine, but discipleship recovered the biblical way.
So we are in Colorado Springs, and we're going to be doing our project in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
Why? Because
Colorado
we're here.
Springs.
This is where the Lord has us. This is where our church is in our church body. And we do think that it's a cool place to operate, to Christianize. For people who are in Colorado Springs, sometimes they will refer to this as the Bible Belt of the West. I mean, this town, El Paso County, is there's a lot of Christian ministries here. There's a lot of people who, a lot of churches, a lot of people who claim Christ. But overall, our state is suffering, right? And it's becoming more blue and dumb by the day. So even of late. So we're here, and we feel like we want to be faithful where we are, as opposed to packing up and moving somewhere else. That's certainly could be an option, but we feel like the Lord has called us to stay here.
The stay and fight mentality.
Yes.
As opposed to flight. And, one could go either way, but we believe that our responsibility is here, that, Colorado Springs is not so far gone, or the state of Colorado for that matter, is not so far gone that we feel like we have to beat a hasty retreat, that there's nothing to recover, there's nothing to revive. Absolutely. Wherever the Lord's people are, we can make an impact. And I do believe that this is an opportune time to stand up against certain wicked legislation, certain, even perversions of the way that God tells us to live. Because, you have a variety of churches in town, right? And any number of them may teach something about any particular topic. And we have to call the state of Colorado, but in particular our own city, back to faith in Christ. Of course, that's the bedrock, faith in Christ, but also obedience to his word. And that means building a Christian culture, which means staying here instead of leaving. So as far as the four of us are concerned, we believe that it's an opportune time to, put on the armor of God and fight.
And because it's beautiful here.
We have the majestic Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak.
In the background. Yeah, Colorado Springs is as far as cities go, I'm not a city boy at all, but this is a nice city.
It
Lots
is.
of good amenities. And then in Black Forest, of course, great country living. So best of both worlds, really.
Well, I think, so if you are a Reformed Christian person, there's a good chance that you have seen other Reformed people that are doing this burrowing idea. And it's so inspirational. It's so cool to just see how they are taking these ideas and living it out and just building that community, like physically building a community together. And I think that part was so cool for us to think. And we believe that there are other Reformed people and people who want to take on these types of projects, but don't live in Idaho, Arizona, Utah. Or Texas. And it's like, if you don't live in one of those places where it's currently happening, maybe you live close to us, or maybe you could join in with this project. And there's so many great states and places that boroughs can happen. And so we do love this place, and we want to have our own flavor, our own version. It's not going to be like any of the communities that these other guys have built, but it'll have its own flair, and that's kind of cool.
Well, the goal is to build the kingdom, right? And so we share a similar goal there. And we hope to have more podcasts or episodes in the future where we kind of dive into the specifics of what we're trying to accomplish. But just an overview for starters, a few of the things that we would like to do. So as we record this now near the beginning of the summer 2025, we're hoping to have a homeschool enrichment program. Lord willing, that will take place this coming fall. So obviously a lot of hurdles to jump there. But an enrichment program that focuses on theology, discipleship, Christian business, entrepreneurship, trades, that kind of thing. And so stuff that typically people aren't getting in even Christian schools. We want to enrich the homeschool program that a lot of the folks at church, and most of them are homeschooling their kids. So we want to help make it easier for them to raise their kids. We want to focus on trade work. We have carpenters and welders and people who can fix cars and repair things and electricians. And so what we want to do is focus on giving skills to this upcoming generation that, in the next few years is going to be entering the workforce, and to help them to be able to learn those type things while they're being discipled. And again, how to run a Christian business.
No, I think one of the exciting things overall is that we've kind of got out of the talking phase. I mean, that's been, ironically, a lot of our talk, a lot of our conversation is wanting to go from the dreaming, the talking, the scheming, and actually planning to see these things materialize. Many of them this year, Lord willing. But that's the exciting thing is knowing that we have a plan down and we have a way forward. And I mean, it's really up to the Lord to grant us success, but also, we don't know in what order these things will materialize. All we know is that we have a direction that we want to go and that we will try to see this project through.
I think one of the ways that we really related to each other at the beginning was what we wanted to provide for our kids. You talk about whether we want to stay in this community, why we want to stay in this community. Well, our kids are in this community. We don't want to have this mindset of we get 18 years with our kids and then they need to go start a life somewhere. Mm-hmm. We want to start that life with our kids here and now. We want them to be discipled and ready to join this work of the kingdom, not go out and start their own borough. We want this to be a generational project that has the inheritance passed on of a true spiritual heritage. And so that means our kids need to know what it's like to be part of a Christian community. They need to know what it's like to have Christian education. They need to know what it's like to have a Christian home, to have a Christian business. They need to be discipled. They need to be apprentices in those things. And so in order to get that started before they even think, do I leave the house now? We need a community that's stronger, that has more ties, so that they can learn all those things within a community. So that it's not little mini kingdom building in homes and then we get together and have corporate worship. Like, why can't our entire week be wrapped up in a community that's continually worshiping the Lord, wants to make much of Christ, and wants to teach our kids how to do that at every stage of their life. There's not a wait time for them to where someday they get to be involved. We want them involved right now in every step of the way. We want them dreaming about their kids being part of this community. Not dreaming like, oh, college, do I go in-state or out-of-state? Just these flippant ideas. We want there to be something so significant and anchoring here that not only do they want to be part of this community, but they feel like they're a valued part of the community. Mm-hmm. And that they know if they were to choose to leave, that would take a toll on all mm-hmm. of us, because they're mm-hmm. such a valued and valuable part of the community. So in order to disciple them in that way, we really need to go back to those overlapping spheres you were talking about with education and work and apprenticeship and entrepreneurship and worship. And how can we have those things so overlapped that each person is just such an integral part of the community that they don't want to leave, nor do they feel the desire to do their own thing. And they know that if they leave, that would be a part of the body leaving, and that would hurt them. It would hurt the community. Like, why wouldn't we want to stay and build together?
But like, not in a weird way. Like they don't have to stay, but it's just if we built something, like you said, substantial enough that they just felt like such a part of it, that they didn't have to go, that we didn't leave them without options to where they have to go to a totally different town or state to find a way to plug in.
So here we are in our early to mid 40s, and our kids, they're a little bit older. A lot of the families in our church have younger kids. And I know for Amber and me, our kids are the oldest in the church that still live at home. And so for our kids, this, by the time we get everything started and built up, they're going to be right at the very end of their schooling. It might be a little bit late for them, and we're still going to do it anyway. Our whole goal is to build this for the families that are around us as well, and for our grandkids to be able to participate and live close and work together and be discipled and that kind of thing. You know, we're super excited to start this, even though we think it might be a little bit late. And so as you're watching this, if you're thinking, oh, that sounds like a cool, idea. This is something that, looking back on it, I wish that we had thought of 10 or 15 years ago, but better late than never. And
you still got kids in the house.
We still have kids in the house, yes. Yeah. And one of the goals is for them to participate in leading, to help out with being disciples, right? And so I think that'd be kind of a cool experience for them as well. In terms of growing, right? This is something that we would love for you to participate with us, if not just with prayer and encouragement, especially if you're in Colorado Springs. One of the things when Amber and I found Emmaus Road, we found it on the internet on a YouTube video, and it was like, wow, these guys are in Colorado Springs and they're doing this cool stuff, and what a great church. And so maybe that's you. Maybe you're in Colorado Springs. Come to Emmaus Road and just join us for church and get to know us. We'd love to see you. And I don't know, is it too lofty of a goal? It's definitely not too big of an ask for the Lord, but for people to move here to join us, that'd be kind of cool down the road. So we'll see how that goes, but we would love to have people join us.
We have just such an interesting group of ladies at this church. Really, really blessed to be part of this group of ladies. A huge different variety of backgrounds, professions, education levels. We have ladies that have just wanted nothing but to be a mother their whole life, and they got to the point where they got married and became mothers. We had others who were engineers and brain scientists and teachers and all sorts of stuff. What's really interesting is to see how many of these ladies have taken their talents and their education and their experiences, what they're willing to just put aside to be God-honoring wives and mothers in a way that connects us all, even if our background isn't the same. And so as we have found that common vision, and whatever experiences we had that led us up to this point, that our priorities now are all the same, that we want to be a God-honoring wife and mother. Now that we've kind of have that common vision here, we want to take a very long-term approach to how we take care of our homes and plan with our children. We want this to be very generational. And so one of the things that we've decided is that the future is not feminine, but women are going to play a huge part in it, because they're going to raise the next generation and they're going to support the current generation of men running the church. So we really want to encourage other women that the future is faithful. The Lord is building his church. The Lord is making heaven and earth one. We need to raise up a faithful generation and encourage them to raise up the next faithful generation. In that way, we're going to outnumber those who are against us. We're going to build strong generations that have a spiritual heritage, that are going to cause the gospel to flood Black Forest and then the city and then the state, just based on this faithful discipleship that's happening within homes. So we feel like the future is faithful. We don't need to live in fear. We don't need to live watching the news, wondering what doom and gloom is going to happen. Mm-hmm. We need to focus on our homes. We need to focus on our husbands and our kids, whether that means changing the way we think about education and providing our kids with a faithful Christian education, in many cases, a faithful homeschool education. Whether that means taking charge in the kitchen in a way that we might have been afraid to before or didn't think we had the skills to before. Teaching our kids that they can learn new things and they can do that to honor the Lord. Teaching our kids that the reason we learn new things and we pursue excellence is because it's for the Lord. We just feel like God has given us such an amazing opportunity to raise up a faithful generation that's going to come and take this work and continue it and multiply it even more. That we're not living in fear. We're not living in fear of things that we're giving up from our past, wasteful educations, anything like that. We don't live in fear. We have the best treasure that we have for the future has been given us by the Lord as our children, and we have everything we need to do because we have Christ and because we have husbands that love the Lord and are leading us through that. So the future is faithful. We hope to talk a lot more about that, the women in the church, because we share a lot about the different ways God has gifted us, and that those aren't individual things. They're things that are meant to be shared. And so we share a lot with skills and scripture amongst the ladies, and it's developing a very strong community. And I think it's going to develop a much stronger next generation of faith as well.
Amber.
The only thing, yes, the only thing I would add to that is just, Katie's so right. There's just some amazing women in our body of believers that are just talented and have so much to teach. But I also want to say that not all of the content is going to be how-tos. A lot of it is, hey, I tried this thing, this didn't really work, or we tried this with the kids, and just so you know, here's what I tried, and maybe it was great and maybe it wasn't so great. And so it's not that we're coming at it from, we have this all figured out and you should do it exactly how we did it. A lot of it will be, here were the things we wish we had done differently. And especially I feel like with these older kids that how Matt was talking about a second ago, that there's so many things it's like, ooh, if I could have, done it differently, or what would I have done differently, if I could go back, kind of a thing. And how you can still, even whatever stage you're in, how can you be faithful right there with that stage of kiddos that you have in this stage of life that you're in, and how can you just be faithful with what the Lord has given you right now, and take a second to grieve if you need to of the past, or that it didn't turn out the way you wanted, and then we move on and we go forward. So I'm really excited about the women's content. You guys got to check that out too.
Amber, what you were saying reminded me of how the Bible describes and chronicles Israel's various battles. You see all the ugly, right? You see, which actually lends credibility to the story, because you don't see this cover up to make them look better than they actually are. You have failures in battle. You have failures amongst the prophets. You have failures amongst their kings. It's all there to see. But overshadowing that is the saving mercies of God, right? Who preserves his people and keeps his promises. So, while we don't want to sit here and say, yeah, we're just going to fail as bad as Israel did, the future is faithful, right? But we can document, even the setbacks, the failures, and then hopefully show you how God gets us through those things, and we come out stronger and more sanctified and more committed to him. In this so-called borough building, we would definitely like to be a platform for the various members of our church to build businesses. And we know it's very expensive. It can be very expensive to start a business when you're looking for a lot of resources. And we would hope that as we are able to grow our holdings, we talk about acquiring land as among many other things to give a platform for men in our church who want to build businesses, maybe don't have a place to build those businesses, and we can offer that, get them started and give them a place to try to succeed and to take some calculated risk. So I'm particularly excited about that, running a business here and there, fencing and now trying to get into flooring and other things.
I think also providing an opportunity for women to be a helpmeet.
Yeah.
As God has given them certain talents, providing opportunity for them to, whether it's gardening or baking or whatever it is, how can they, like you said, take a risk, but do it in a way where it's within their community, where their children can be there, can be around them, can also be learning. How can we provide facilities and space to do some of those things? We don't want everyone to move away, and because everyone has to have 5 or 20 acres somewhere. What if we have some community space where moms can also take that risk and be a helpmeet to their husband?
Right. And that's where we talk about, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but the whole subject of the covenantal household. And you hear a lot about that in Presbyterian circles. I think Reformed Baptists really need to latch onto that, because I think there's definitely a case that is made for that. When you talk about a covenant, we talk about a partnership even under the roof of one's own household. So, I mean, even if you want to return to what is a so-called traditional marriage or traditional household, I think if you're not careful, it's easy to get into this mode where the husband is doing his thing. He may be doing it well, but he's doing his thing, and then his wife is completely isolated from that, right? So the husband gets up in the morning, he goes to work, he's away all day, and then comes home and whatever the wife has been doing, right? Maybe it could even be something as noble like homeschooling. What we're trying to do is bridge the gap in that separation, and getting back to the issue of covenant is to establish a partnership where the members of the family are actually working together toward a particular mission. And I think that's actually customizable, right? The overall picture is to advance the kingdom of Jesus Christ. But then, of course, we have the particulars of that per household. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so what you end up doing is you're working side by side. It's almost like a throwback to the more agrarian days, where you had your parcel of land, you grew your own food, sort of like this pre-industrial age type of living, and it seems like we are kind of in the thick of that, and it's hard to solve that problem of separating the various members of the family. But I think on one hand, parents can take control of their children's education, make sure that they are getting a Christian education, right, learning a Christian worldview, learning how God's world works, bringing all things in subjection to Him, living in obedience to Him. I think that's one way we can begin that partnership. But then, of course, in terms of enterprise, I've encouraged the men of our church to try their hand at being an entrepreneur. Like, I think we are in an age where it is a great time to start your own business and get your family involved and teach them the things that you're doing so they know how to do them as well. So, for instance, I build fences, and every once in a while when I'm able, I take Andrew, my son, out and teach him one particular aspect of building a fence. So that's something I can pass on to him and then show by example of how to build something. And so what that does is that it demonstrates to my son that I want to partner with him in this particular endeavor. I want to partner with him in work. And so I think any way that you can strengthen that kind of bond is very helpful and very healthy for not only the household, but even the local church, if multiple households are engaging in that covenant activity.
So why are we doing this in the first place? Well,
why, Matt?
We believe that Jesus is the King, and that He's currently reigning, and all authority.
Where is He reigning, Matt?
He is reigning at the right hand of God the Father.
There we go.
Seated on King David's throne.
King David's throne. Is that a literal throne?
Yep.
Or a spiritual?
But He is so Christ is reigning, right? All authority in heaven and earth has been given to Him. And so we believe that He will win and that He will be victorious. And so we are acting to that end.
Right. Theology matters. Theology influences heavily our behavior and our daily living. And we believe, as Matt has said, we believe that Jesus is reigning. As Revelation 1 says, he is the ruler of the kings of the earth. He is in charge. This is his world now. He has laid claim to it. And so we believe that impacts the way we live. That impacts the way we plan. It impacts the way we work. It impacts the way we even preach the gospel. And so, as Katie beat me to the punch. She said that you referenced the phrase heaven and earth becoming one. And so we would believe that the Bible teaches that the point of the gospel is not to make sure you go to heaven when you die. Yes, that is something that the gospel accomplishes when we believe. But I would say that is just the beginning. The overarching purpose of the gospel is to make heaven and earth one. So we believe, bombshell here, right? We believe that Colorado Springs, we believe that Colorado, we believe that the United States, we believe that the entire world will at some point be Christianized. We believe that the nations will at some point in time, as the gospel progresses, bow the knee in faith to the lordship of Christ. Nations will come to embrace Christ as Lord and Savior and King. And so, of course, that is going to impact the way we live. So rather than take on some retreatist mindset from society, or I would say even act as if we are trying to get as many people in the lifeboats as possible because this world is a sinking ship. We don't believe that the world is a sinking ship, right? We believe that there is a new captain on board, and that is King Jesus. He has retaken the ship, and we as his ambassadors are responsible for going through the entire ship, every deck, and proclaiming to every passenger, there is a new king, right? This is the gospel. This is how one, carrying forth the reconciling message of the gospel, and basically telling them, repent and believe, or you will be thrown overboard. The lifeboats are not for Christians. The big boat is for Christians because Christ has reclaimed the big boat. Matt, have you ever been in a real big boat?
I've been in a real big boat one time. I will tell you, they will confess with their tongues that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Right.
So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and not to say that without qualification. Yes, we do believe there will be ebbs and flows. We do believe there will be persecution, and we're living in the thick of it right now. Even though we wouldn't say that, Christians are being beaten down in the streets of Colorado Springs, we are living under some very wicked legislation. If you guys have been keeping track of some of the stuff that's being passed, it can be a little bit discouraging. But we have to face these kinds of challenges with the view that Christ is going to be victorious, right? The victory has already been proclaimed. How do we know that? That is because Christ has risen from the dead. So all of our hope is anchored in that, in every area of life. And so we believe that we are called to boldness. We do not believe, to reiterate, that this is the time to retreat. It's time to be courageous and to stand strong and to face the whatever evils of this society with the hope of the gospel. And we do believe that gospel will inevitably advance. And it is not up to us to say what is going to succeed and what is not going to succeed. It is not up to us to call the times and seasons of persecution and rejection of society of the gospel. We are called to trust the Lord, and we are called to trust him that he will always do what is right and in his own timing. And so that's what we know, right? That's the data we have, but we also know what the gospel is going to accomplish, and we are here to proclaim that, we are here to stand on that, and we are here to build for the kingdom, come what may.
So we're definitely excited about our project ahead, where the Lord has brought us and where he's taken us. And if you want to follow along, we'll be doing podcasts, some videos, some just audio, and then also reformingcolorado.com is our website. So we'll be putting our content on there as well. So we appreciate your prayers. If you know somebody, if you're out of state and you know somebody in Colorado Springs who might think that it's kind of cool that this is happening near them, send it to them. We would appreciate it. So we believe that the future belongs to the faithful, that Christ is King, and that it's time to build.
So let us rise and build.
Yes.